Hello everyone, Paraskeria. I'm Mr. Smith. It's Friday and today we're going to be looking at the geography of the Caucasus region here. Then we're going to be looking at the internal geography of Georgia with the names of the places and the elements of the physical geography that are relevant at our level to understand dialogues about Georgia. Georgia isn't a massive country, so there are a few things that we should already know by now, and that's the point of today's class. So if you're ready, let's go. Slide 1 is in fact a ruka. It's a map. And this ruka is the Caucasia region. Caucasia, don't get confused with Asia. Caucasia is this entire region. There's a north, a central, and a lower part of Caucasia. And we're going to focus on, the central part because that's Sakartvelo. And here, Sakartvelo is right in the middle of everything. Caucasia is defined by Shavi Zghva, and Caspi's Zghva. Its neighbors are Rusety. Here's the border. If only they respected the borders. And so the beautiful mountains we see in all those photographs that we take and we want to go skiing and things like that. Caucasia is the region, is the mountain range in the north, and it defines the border with Rusety. The other neighbor on the right is Azerbaijani. Always looks to me a little bit like a flat chicken with a head. Dedakalaki, Baku. Azerbaijani and the Dedakalaki, Baku. Dedakalaki, Deda means mother, Kalaki means city. So in Georgian, literally, capital city, Dedakalaki. The other neighbor is Somkheti, and Somkheti, the Dedakalaki, is Erevani. And it's here, Erevani, the Dedakalaki of Somkheti. And then just below we have Turketi. And this border marks Sakartvelo. As we can see, Sakartvelo has direct access to the Shavi Zghva and no access to Caspi's Zghva. Dedakalaki, Tbilisi, Sakartvelos, Dedakalaki, Tbilisi. And the next slide, we need to pay close attention to this river here. It starts in Turketi, it crosses Msire Kavkasioni into the border of Sakartvelo, it moves around the country, lands in the Dedakalaki, and then exits in Azerbaijani. Slide number 2. Slide 2, another ruka. This map, shows us the center of Georgia. And if you're a tourist, these are going to be names that you have already heard, especially Dedakalaki, Tbilisi, with its airport. If you're flying into Tbilisi, that's where the airport is. Now, I said that we should mention Mtkvari. Mtkvari is this river here. It starts in Turketi and it moves then into Georgia, Mtkvari, and then it lands in Newcastle, Achal Tsikhe. If you're a fan of football or you know UK geography, that's Newcastle, Achal Tsikhe. And Mtkvari goes and it leaves this Mkhare. This region, Samskhe Javakheti, is also quite famous because of the journey of Tsmindanino. And Tsmindanino is the lady that brought Christianity to Georgians. So we're going to follow the Mtkvari past Achal Tsikhe and exit this region and then enter a new region. This region, Shida Kartli. Shida, inner, central, Kartli. Interestingly enough, the region below is Kvemo Kartli. Shida, inner, Kvemo, lower. Shida Kartli, the capital is Gori. Mtkvari passes through Gori. We follow it again, and we end in Mtsketa. Mtsketa is a popular day trip from Tbilisi, and it's because it's so beautiful. What makes it very beautiful is the Mtkvari joins Aragvi, this river here, Aragvi, and it brings all that water in and creates the old Derakalaki of Georgia and the final destination of Tsminda Nino. Mtsketa is a very popular, beautiful, very religious place to visit. This is the Machare, the region, Mtsketa, and then Umtianeti. Umtianeti is the Machare. Mtsketa, Umtianeti. Now, this might seem like a bit of an overload, but as we go down following Mtkwari, we get to Tbilisi, as we've already been here before, and then Rustavi, just before we exit into Azerbaijani, is the Rustaveli. That's the name of the most famous poet of Georgia. So on our little journey, and this is in Kvemo Kartli, so our journey following Mtkwari crosses several different regions, several important cities, and brings us really into the history of Georgia. How to remember this? Here's obviously the biggest link. Kartli, Shida, Kvemo, inner, lower. If you zigzag from here, the only tip I can give you is that Mtsche, and then eti, and then eti. Eti is repeated in several other names. It's not a big tip, but definitely mtsche. So samtsche, here javacheti. Mtscheta, and then tianeti. Just over here is Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is the capital of Kacheti, where all the wine is grown. And then we just go right over the top to Imereti. Imereti is another Machare. Imereti has the second airport on this Ruka, Kutaisi. Kutaisi Airport, located just outside the city. So here we have several different regions of the whole of the center of Georgia. A little bit of a tip, how to remember a little bit of these regions here, the most important cities, and so on. Slide 3 is another Ruka. This Ruka is Western Georgia. Western Georgia, not like Shotarustaveli or Tsminda Nino, is the old Kolkis region. And it's famous for that old culture. We remember it from Jason and the Argonauts, the Golden Fleece, this myth and legend of just opulent amounts of gold, the Euripides play about Medea, and some of those old legends which are relevant to ancient Greek history and semi-present in our history too. The first Machare is Adjara. Adjara is an autonomous region inside Georgia, interestingly enough, and its capital is Batumi. Batumi has a port, a very busy port, and an airport. And so the distance from Kutaisi, which we've already seen, to Batumi is not that far. And many people fly from Kutaisi. They don't even stay there, which is a shame because it's a very interesting part of central Georgia, and go directly to Batumi, where maybe it's more fun, especially in the summer. Adjara is the region. Batumi is the capital. This is Guria. Guria here. Its capital, Ozurgeti, here. Moving on to Zugdidi. Zugdidi is another big capital. It's quite beautiful, very elegant. It also has an interesting history. This is the capital of San Megrelo. San Megrelo, think about Sacatvelo, Kartli, San Megrelo, Mingrelian. Different group, different type of Georgian as well, interestingly enough. San Megrelo is the Machare, the region, and then Zugdidi is the capital. Another thing we notice is these compound names. This region, this Machare, has a very long, kind of difficult name to remember. The most important thing is that this is Svaneti. Svaneti is the area that is occupied by Georgians, and it has a Zemo, an up, and a kvemo, and a down. If you remember, we did a video about the house. Upstairs, downstairs. Zemot, kvemot. Zemo, svaneti. Upper, svaneti. Kvemo, svaneti. Lower, svaneti. And really, that's what I think about. Some of the names are easy to remember if you try to make some kind of link. This is really easy. Try to think of the other one. We had Shida Kartli, and then we had Kvemo Kartli. So we now have Zemo Svaneti and then Kvemo Svaneti, upper and lower in the Machare of Samagrelo. Here we're going to move into another. This is right in the mountains now, and this is Racha, and then Le Ch Chumi, Racha, Lech Chumi Da, and the and, Kvemo Svaneti. This region here. This is the administrative capital of this region, this rather large collection of areas, and it's the Ambro Lauri. Ambro Lauri. Ambro Lauri is a very interesting city because it doesn't sound that Georgian, Ambro Lauri, but it's right here. It's the administrative center of Racha, Lech Chumi, Da Kvemo Svaneti. Just a mention, of course, here we have another region. It is an autonomous region of Georgia for different reasons, mostly occupation by Russia. So these are the Georgian names. Abkhazeti. Abkhazeti, Abkhazia in English. And then we have Sokhumi. Sokhumi. So Sokhumi, Poti, and Batumi are in fact Georgian ports. That is the last slide of today. Thank you very much. I hope you now know much more about the Caucasus region than before, and you're starting to get acquainted with the words that you need. Next week, we're looking at telling the time. This requires a few questions, fixed questions, and then some numbers, which we have explored, but not in this way. I hope you enjoyed today's class. Have a nice weekend. See you next week.